cannot say that enough. And some of you guys understand where I'm coming from. Some of you guys don't. That's okay. But I've watched people in my family do mission together and who value God's family. And I want to say this. I think that's what has really brought us together in unity and love. It's not just we have this American value for family. It's because God has, by His grace, shown us that there's a bigger picture to family, and that it's His family. And so I love to quote that Pastor Roger put on Facebook a couple weeks ago. He says that our approach at Grace Church is to enable and empower people to invade society. Enable and empower people to invade society. So my hope and my prayer is that by the end of this message, you would feel enabled and empowered to invade society, but that you would feel enabled to invade it together, connected to one another. I want to look at another scripture. So we looked at Matthew 10. We said that was in the spring. Fast forward 6 months later, the 12 apostles had gone out. They've come back. They have even said this. They said, Jesus, you were right. We had the power. We had the authority. When we cast out the demons, they left. When we healed people, they were healed. All of these things. And it said they came back to Jesus rejoicing. And Jesus said, you think that's great, huh? He goes, you think that's great? I'm glad. I'm glad you think that's great. But let me tell you something. I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. How cool is that? And it's almost like they're having this like one-up story, you know, this one-upper like, you know, locker room talk where it's like, oh, you think that's cool? But Jesus is saying, he's like, well, that's pretty amazing, but like, honestly, that's just kind of normal. Let me tell you something cool. Satan got cast down from heaven. And then he says, well, let me tell you something cooler. Your names are written in the Lamb's book of life. Let me tell you something even cooler than a miracle, than a healing, than a demon being casted out, is when a person has their name written in the Lamb's book of life through faith in God. And what is he saying? He's saying, I want my purpose to be above everything else. I want my purpose to be above family. I want my purpose to be above your abilities. I want my purpose to be above your giftings, above your resources. Guys, I am convicted because God is stretching me right now. I am committed in a brand new way to doing life with you and doing mission with you. God's been calling me to this, and I hope that He's calling you to it. So 6 months after He sends out the 12, He sends out the 70. And so in Luke 10, you see that the Lord appointed 72 others, and He sent them ahead of Him. And He sends them into every town where He's about to go, not just their own people. And He says, the harvest is plentiful, the laborers are few. Therefore, pray that the Lord would send out laborers into the harvest. And so they had this huge growth from 12, now 72 going. But He sent out His disciples 2 by 2. Have you ever wondered why He sent them out 2 by 2? You know, why didn't Jesus send them out one at a time? Wouldn't that just be more effective to send one out in every direction? You know what I mean? They'd cover a little bit more territory, cover a little bit more land. No, He sends them out 2 by 2, and I think that God was being very strategic when He said, I want you to go out in twos. I think that that's a strategy that He gave His disciples, and that's a strategy that He gives us. Why? Because I think that a cord of 3 strands aren't easily broken. When you partner up with another believer, and then you've got God bringing you together, there is power in that unity, where 2 or more are gathered together. So He sends them out 2 by 2. And I think it's amazing. There's power in numbers. And so I'll just tell a quick story. We went to the Florida basketball game. Come on. Put that right back to the Seminole. We went to the Florida basketball game last weekend, and we're driving home, and we got into this discussion about what the most important thing is for believers. And so my brother Thomas, who's back here, asked me, he goes, what do you think the most important thing is? We get in this discussion, and we're talking about small groups. And I basically say something like, I think small groups are really pivotal for us to grow and for us to walk in what God has called us to. And out of the back, my nephew Jairus pipes up. And he goes, hey, I know how to make a small group. And we're all like, what? You know, he's in his car seat in the back. He goes, I know how to make a small group. And we're just like waiting for this like profound spiritual insight. You know what I mean? From this 5-year-old. And he goes, I know how to make a small group. You get 3 men. We're like, yeah, that is how you make a small group. It really is that easy, isn't it? We thought it was this process. We thought it was going to be this formula, but all you have to do is just get 3 people together. Jesus sent out his disciples in 2. They went to go find another person and shared with them the gospel. It's that easy. Didn't matter where they met, didn't matter what time. It was just 3 people, 2 people who knew Jesus, 1 person who did it. It was like, okay, this is not, that difficult to understand.